Okay, so good morning to all. See, in the last class, we started off with the reaction turbines. In that reaction turbine, we'll do what is called as your Francis construct. Today, we'll try to uh, analyze it, use of the velocity triangle. Okay, and we'll look into some of the what we call it a formula to solve the Francis turbine. So analysis of the Francis turbine. Okay, fine. So let me draw the hub and tip of it. So there are two types of velocity triangles here. So let me try to draw both actually. So this is the hub, your hub, and this will be my tip. Okay, this is what I have, hub and tip of your Francis turbine. Let me make a copy of it. I have to draw both the different types of triangles. Okay. This being an inward flow turbine, that means the flow will be, water will be entering from outside to inside. Say for example, if my blades are of this shape, okay, if my blades are of, usually the blades are a little bit twist, if they are of this shape, okay, or sometimes they will be of this shape. So both possibilities are there for your way. And as I told that this is an inward flow turbine, means the flow is entering from outside to inside. That is, if this my tip, outside is called as a tip and inside is called as an hub. Okay. Now this being a radial flow turbine, if I call my outside as 1, inside as 2. So if I take U1 and U2 as the inside, so U1 and U2, because D1 and D2 both are different. Okay. So outside one, if I call this as 1, inside it is 2, same thing here also 1, inside it is. So let me draw the velocity triangle here. So the fluid enters here. See, the fluid will enter in this direction. Okay, the fluid will enter in this direction. So this is my relative velocity. Or if I try to triangle here, so it will be something like, if I try to draw a velocity triangle, it is a tangent to this. Okay, this is my V1. Okay, and then I can complete it. So this is the component of the velocity triangles. One, the flow component, other one the tangential component. Other one being tangential component. So this will be my flow component of the triangle. This is my one, and this is my VW1 and one here. I do have a beta 1 here. Okay, this is the VR1. So I'm trying to draw a velocity triangle. So what it is means, at this particular point, so the direction of, because of this particular thing, it's still in this direction. So this is my direction of rotation. That is equal to omega or n or whatever. Now it is, see, usually in case of a Francis turbine and all, there is it. That means you will have a right angle triangle at the two. So I have a simple right angle triangle at the edge. Something like this. Having a simple right angle triangle here. This will be my VR2 and this is my QR F or what it means, V2 or VF2, and this is my U2, my VW2 So that is, there is no wall at the exit. So no wall at the exit. So what is it actually? It means my alpha 9 and beta to some angle. So if you actually my u is greater than u2 because that is the entry diameter is greater than your exit diameter. So if I try to tell this actually, one is inlet to the turbine and two is outlet of exit to the, how the sign convention will go. So now if you have a condition where I may have a loss depending upon my blade. If my blade is to the right hand side, if it's the kind what I shown to the right hand, my velocity triangle will be like this. So if this is the case, I will be having a velocity triangle of this form. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Velocity triangle. Yes.
Sir, your voice is
Tell me.
breaking. Your voice is breaking, sir.
What about now? It should be fine.
But
No, here it's fine actually. Yeah. So here, so I have a triangle something like this. Why is it so? I'll draw you and show actually why it is so. So this will be my VF1. This will be my V1. Okay. And I have a VW1. Okay. And this will be my, in this sense, your turbine is rotating in this direction. And this is my VR1. See, your velocity triangle clearly shows me or will tell me what is the component. See, if you try to observe both type of triangles, see, to the left hand side, my VW1 is much bigger. See, my VW1 is much bigger compared to your U. Okay, compared to my U, see here, my U is, this is my U1. I forgot to write here. This is my U1. My VW is bigger than your, see, VW1 is, this is my VW1. This will be my VW1. If I take for the first case, if I call this as a first case, this is as a second case. So in your Francis turbine, see, VW clearly shows that it is the amount of the whirl velocity or what is the torque. So if I try to write the equation, VW1 minus VW2 into U, or VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2. If I try to look into that kind of a specific work or your Euler equation, actually, that means the one to the left hand side, I will be able to develop more amount of work. So one to the right hand side, there is a slightly drop in my work because there my VW1 is slightly smaller compared to your U. So the product of VW1 into U1 will give the what we call it as maybe the tangential work or whatever it may be. So depending upon the type of thing, you'll be able to have the velocity triangle to the right hand side and left hand side, which shows that what is the energy that is available at the point 1. Maybe my exit velocity triangle will be very similar to what I have written here. So I maybe have like this. Okay. This may be my VR2. This may be my V2 is equal to VF. Okay. This is my U2. VW is equal to 0. This is my beta 2. This is my alpha 2. You should not get confused with the what velocity triangle. So velocity triangle depends on how exactly you are placing your blades or vanes. And the size of the velocity triangles clearly indicates what is the energy that is available at that particular point. So the velocity triangle of the Francis turbine can be the one or shown to the left hand side, or it can be one what I am showing to the right hand side. So both are possible in case of your Francis turbine. Okay, this is about your velocity.
Sir, in second case.
Now,
Yes,
yeah, second case, 10 minutes.
Sir, in second case, like VR1 is not tangential to the blade.
It is tangential. It should be always tangential to the blade. See, it all depends on how much of twist you are giving. See, this particular blade, what I have, no, this particular blade, this blade should be always, this is always tangent to the blade. It should be, I might have written like that because the blades are twisted. So when I'm going to give the twist actually, your fluid VR1 should be always tangent to the beta 1 is a blade angle. Beta 1 is always, see how the beta 1 is measured. If suppose this is my, the hub or whatever it may be, see if I try to draw a tangent to it, so I'm measure the blade, see for example, this blade I have, so it's always,
Devraj sir, your voice is breaking.
no, it should not actually, hello, now,
Yes, now it is coming, but it is breaking.
I know I have a full connection here, I don't know why, what's happening. I have a full connection here. It should not happen. A full connection, okay, 1 minute. I have a full Wi-Fi connection here. Okay, what about now?
It's okay.
Hello? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So now,
It's okay now.
so this is how, yeah, fine. So this is how your beta, so you have a tangent, your blades, so whatever the blade, so I'm going to draw a tangent, your blade angles are measured with respect to your tangent. So that's how you're going to measure. So even though I have a twisted blade, I'm going to measure the blade beta 1 with respect to that particular tangent. So I may have a tangent or something like this. I may be having a tangent like this. This tangent will be there. I'm going to have a tangent over there and it is measured with respect to that particular tangent. And your beta 1. So your VR1 is actually, it's always something like for a shockless entry or a shockless flow. That means there should be an attached flow with respect to blade. You got it? Is that clear? So that is the meaning of your thing. See, that doesn't mean, see, I have written something like this, that doesn't mean that your VR1 is not attached. VR1 should be a tangent actually. VR1 should be a tangent. The one thing is I may be having this kind of blade or I may be having some kind of a twisted blade. So both I have written. Is that clear? Shall we proceed? Hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So now, some of the formulas, if you want to look into your Francis turbines, the first thing is the specific work. So I will revisit with some of the formulas which we have been using. Specific work. Okay. The first formula is actually your Euler work. That is W by M is equal to VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2. But we have my whole velocity at the exit is equal to 0. So my specific work formula will be W by M is equal to VW1 into U1. Okay. This is about your work in terms of, if I use this actually, my work will be either in terms of Newton meter or joules or kilojoules. Suppose if I want to express the same thing in terms of the pressure head, okay, then it will be H is equal to your W by M into G, or I can write VW1 to U1 minus VW2 into U2 by G, because my VW2 is equal to 0, I can write H is equal to VW1 into U1 by G. Let me call this as some equation number 1 here. That I am called it as equation number. So what will be the here actually? This is in meters. The head will be in terms of meters. Okay. And now one more thing actually. See, when I'm trying to analyze the flow in a Francis turbine, I will try to look into the discharge. Okay. So if I try to look into the discharge, and what will be the particular formula? It is actually my discharge Q. Okay. The discharge Q is given by your area of the flow into velocity of the flow. So I can write it as Q is equal to area of the flow at the inlet, velocity of the flow at the inlet, which will be equal to area of the flow at the exit and velocity of the flow at the exit. Now, if I try to draw the how your hub and tip looks like, if I try to draw this, okay. Suppose if my this is my blade, this is my 1, this is my 2. Okay. Now, if I try to look it from the side, actually, so side view will be, there is a little bit of, it will be having a certain amount of thickness. Okay, it will be having a certain amount of thickness because the blade is there. So this is my width or whatever it may, width or W or B. Then what will be your, see, what is your 1? 1 is your tip diameter and 2 is your this thing. So I can write D1 as, so D1 and D2 as hub, sorry, tip and hub diameters respectively. So D1 is the tip diameter, tip and hub diameters. What is hub? Hub is the inside one and tip is the outside one. Now similarly, see, we most of the problems we take the thickness or width to be constant throughout your the side view. And if you look at the side view, the width should be constant or B should be constant. If suppose width is varying something like this, the width is varying. So this width actually from outside to inside it is varying. So I may be having, so this width actually, if you look at it, so this width actually it may be varying. So this is the blade. If suppose this is B1 at the inlet, so this may be slightly bigger at the exit. If suppose my width is constant, then I can go with a single width B1. Suppose if there is a little bit of taper with respect to the blade, then I can write it as B1 and B2, which is actually width of the blade, width of the blade or vane at tip and hub respectively. Now, what is VF1 and VF2? They are the flow velocities. VF1 and VF2 are the flow velocities at tip and hub respectively. So if I know this, what will be my AF actually? AF1 I can write it as pi d, that is that circumference pi d1 into that corresponding thickness, that is your width. Pi d1 into b1 is my A1, AF1, that is, I can write AF1, that is area of the flow at the inlet will be pi d1 into b1. Similarly, area of the flow at the exit will be pi d2 into b2. So if I do that, then I can write Q is equal to pi d1 b1 into VF1 is equal to pi d2 b2 into VF2. Let me call that as equation number 3. So when you are having this kind of a Francis turbine, I should look into what is the thickness, what is the width, side view, what is the width of it. So if the width is constant or width is varying from tip to hub, actually we have to look into that particular formula when you are trying to substitute in your discharge formula. Now one more thing which we come across here is actually your hydraulic efficiency. Okay, one more thing we come across in this particular thing is actually your hydraulic efficiency, or it's also called as vane efficiency. See, what is this hydraulic efficiency? It is the ratio of available head. It is the ratio of available pressure head, available head of water to the net head of water. What is available head actually? This is your Euler head. What is the net head actually? It is the head under which your turbine is working. Okay, I can write this as VW1 into U1 by G divided by, what is your net head? It is H. Or I can write my hydraulic efficiency, the hydraulic efficiency or vane efficiency as VW1 into U1 divided by G into H. Okay. Now, what about volumetric efficiency, mechanical efficiency, and overall efficiency? Already we know this. See, what is your, see, we have other efficiencies. What is it actually? Volumetric efficiency. What is volumetric efficiency? It's the ratio of discharge that is going out to what is the discharge that is entering in. Already you have studied in your Pelton wheel, same thing I can put it over here. So similarly, mechanical efficiency, it is the shaft. What is the output of the shaft, bro? What is the energy available at the rotor? So it is the same. So your volumetric efficiency, your mechanical efficiency, and your overall efficiency, whatever you have studied, see, same as discussed in Pelton turbine or Pelton wheel. The same formulas can be used over here. Okay. Now hydraulic efficiency, your discharge and your boiler work or whatever it is, this we have to look into with respect to only with respect to the Francis turbine. So these are some of the formula, because you have to clearly write the velocity triangles. Until and unless you write the velocity triangles, you won't be able to solve the numericals. You won't be in a position to solve the numericals. So once you are done with this Francis turbine, the next type of turbine what you have to look into is the third type of turbine is the Kaplan, or it's also called as propeller turbine. Okay. Now I have two sketches over here. Okay, with respect to propeller turbine or your Kaplan turbine. Now if you closely look at it, actually here this particular area what I am trying to show here, it looks like two concentric cylinders. See, the flow is between two concentric cylinders. So that means this is the flow which is happening. So capital D and small d. Okay, capital D and small d. You have this particular hub diameter and boss diameter. Small d is the hub diameter, capital D is the boss diameter. So whatever you particular thing know, that particular thing will clearly tell me how your flow is in between. That is, it is similar to flow in between two concentric cylinders. So that is how, that's why when the flow is in between two concentric cylinders and the cylinders are running parallel, so that's why we call this as an axial flow turbine. Because the flow is exactly perpendicular. When the flow is happening through the blades, they remain parallel to axis. This is the axis. This is your axis. The flow remains parallel to that. That is why it is called as axial flow turbine. Now, construction wise, if you look at it, it has a scroll. So that means a scroll casing means that where here I am going to connect your maybe penstock or something. The flow will enter from there, and there are guide vanes. There are set of guide vanes. You can look at it actually. You can see I have a exploded view, cut section view to the right hand side, and I have a simple sketch to the left hand side. That means these guide vanes will be guiding your fluid so that it flows into your hub, in between your blade, between two concentric cylinders like this. Your hub or boss, whatever you have actually, so that particular thing. Okay, so flow will be in between this, it will be flowing like this. Let me try to show here. The flow will be entering like this. This is where your flow will be entering. This is where your flow is entering, and it will go from top to bottom. So it's a vertical axis turbo machine or turbine. Now, if you look at the right hand side, actually, I have shown you how my runner will look like, or the blades. So these are my blades. You might have seen this kind of a construction of the blade in any of the ships. Ship propeller with Kaplan turbine. Okay. Now, as I told, so let me write that. I told that it's the flow bit something like the flow is similar to flow in between concentric cylinders. Okay, cylinders. So that is your flow area. To be very precise, this is the flow area. Then what will be a flow area? It will be pi d square minus pi d square minus small d square by this thing. So I can write it as, so then flow area, what will be your flow area? Your flow area for a Kaplan turbine, that is area of the flow. I can write it as pi into your capital D square minus small d square divided by 4, where your capital D is your tip diameter or small d is your either boss or hub diameter. Boss or hub diameter. So tip diameter square minus boss diameter squared into pi divided by 4, that gives your flow area. It is similar to your flow, that is cross section area or flow area of your two concentric cylinders. Then what will be your discharge here? So I can write Q is equal to area of the flow into velocity of the flow. So in case of a Francis turbine, it was pi d into d. Here it is pi d square minus small d square by 4. So that is your area of the flow. Simply I will be getting your area of the flow, which is almost parallel. Okay, this is about your construction wise. Now, what will happen to your velocity triangle? See, velocity triangle will be very similar to your what we saw in your maybe a Francis turbine, whatever. Now, I have shown you some kind of a zoomed view of your runner of whatever it may be. Why this particular thing I have shown you is actually, see the flow here. So whatever it may be, the flow will be exactly parallel. So you have an axis like this. I have an axis like this, and this is exactly parallel to it. So the flow is exactly parallel to it. So that's why it is called as an axial flow machine. So the blades will be rotating. See these blades, what I have shown you, these blades can move up or down. So there are conditions where something like almost like a aircraft flaps or something. So for few of the turbines they are fixed actually, and for some of them there is a little bit of, I can give a little bit of movement to it, so that I can make it exactly perpendicular, or I can have it at a particular angle. So that's how the that's your of your front. Analysis of the Kaplan turbine. This of Kaplan turbine. Okay. Now, so it's very similar to your what we saw in your Francis turbine, the first case. So first case, if I take, how is my velocity triangle at 1? That is at inlet velocity triangle. Let me write the zoomed view of it. The inlet velocity triangle, how it looks like, it will be something like this. So this is my V1, okay, and I have a tangential component of it. I'm trying to, I don't want to write the same thing what I wrote for the Francis. Here I'm trying to show you the zoomed view of it. So this is my VW1, okay, and this is my VF1. So this is my alpha. So then I have a VR1, so which will be somewhere like this. Okay, this is the relative velocity, okay, and this is my beta 1, this is my U1, this is my U1. So what will happen to your outlet or exit velocity triangle, or outlet velocity triangles with no whirl condition? See, most of your Francis or whatever the turbines what we look at, the whirl at the exit is almost 0. That means I don't have any tangential component of velocity at the exit. If that is the condition, my outlet velocity triangle will look something like this. It's a right angle triangle. It will be very similar to right angle triangle. I am trying to show you the zoomed one of it. So it will be, this will be my V2, which is equal to Vf2, and I have the U2, this is my U2, and this is my VR. This is my VR2, this is my alpha 2, this is my beta 2. So I have got both my velocity triangles at the inlet and exit. So this is what I did not write once again the two circles. What are that particular thing what I wrote for Francis? Instead of that, I have written the same thing, little bit of zoomed view. So this is something, but I don't have any whirl at the exit. That is VW2 is equal to 0. That means it is a no whirl condition. So it's very similar to your Francis turbine. So I have certain formulas to write here. Okay. So there are some formulas. One being your specific work. So it's almost the same formula what we wrote for the Francis turbine. That is W by M is equal to VW1 into U1 minus VW2 into U2, or as my VW2 is equal to 0, my W by M is equal to VW1 into U1. This is my Euler's equation. So second one, what is my discharge? Discharge Q is equal to area of the flow into velocity of the flow. What is my area of the flow? We wrote it as pi into capital D square minus small d square by 4 into Vf. So where capital D is the tip diameter or small d is the boss diameter, or if you want you can write D1 minus D1 as the tip diameter, D2 as the hub or boss diameter, whatever you want you can write it. You need not follow same sign convention. Okay. The third one what we need to look at is the speed ratio. Speed ratio, which already we have discussed. What is it actually? It is the ratio of your blade speed to your fluid entry, that is your axial velocity or absolute velocity at the inlet. And see, we have to be very careful here. See, to calculate the V1, okay. So usually this value of phi for Kaplan turbine, this varies from the design, some of the design data handbook, 1.5 to roughly around 2.2. Yes, 1.5 to 2.2 is the value. But for a case of maybe your Pelton turbine, it was around 0.46 or something, design value. 0.4 or so ideally speaking, it was 0.5. So here, phi value is on the more. Phi value is 1.5 to 2.2. Okay. And how to calculate the V1? So V1 is equal to, if you know this net head, where net is very useful here, this has to be net under which your turbine is working. Okay. Then we have one more formula, that is flow ratio. The flow ratio. What is this actually? It is defined as the velocity of the flow divided by your absolute velocity. So this also we take from the design data handbook. Psi is equal to, this is around 0.35 to around 0.75. And also we have the boss diameter or hub diameter to your tip diameter. This is also, we take it from the data handbook as 0.35 to 0.6. So these are some of the numbers what we need to look at. We have to take it when you are designing. So why these numbers? These numbers is required for us to calculate. Say for example, I want to calculate the velocity of the flow, or I want to calculate your peripheral velocity. If I know the V1, I can calculate the V1 based on your net head. Then if I want to calculate the boss diameter, or if I want to calculate the tip diameter, I can use this particular data and maybe the values, design values from the data handbook, and we can use it. So this is about your Kaplan turbine. So this is something like See, once you know one particular type of a turbine, Pelton or Francis, or whatever it may be, so your most of your formulas and all what we have seen, they are very similar. So your Francis or your Kaplan, they are very similar. The only thing is when you come to design, some of the aspects actually things are changing. Is that fine? Is there any doubts? So you can ask. So before I move to the last topic, actually, that is your draft tube. Shall I move? Fine. Okay. So what is a draft tube? Let me write this. See, draft tube. What is this draft tube? See, this draft tube, it is a device used to recover the kinetic energy of the fluid exiting the reaction turbine. This is the definition what we have to look at. So draft tube, it is a device. Okay, it is the device. It is the device or part or whatever device used to recover the kinetic energy, recover the kinetic energy of the fluid exiting, okay, the reaction turbine, exiting the reaction turbine, to be very precise, because we won't find this draft tube in an impulse machine. Okay, that's the first condition. So the first definition what we could do is, it is one device which is used to recover the kinetic energy. It is also helps us to install your turbine above the tail race. Okay, it also allows the reaction turbine. It also allows the reaction turbine to be installed above the tail race. So let me underline what does it do. So one is the kinetic energy of the fluid exiting the turbine. Okay. Then the second one is it will ensure the turbine is installed above the tail race. These two functions your draft tube does. Okay. Now I have few sketches of the draft tube. So we have different types of draft tubes. So here, if you look at it, here is my turbine. See, I have a turbine which is at the maybe at the entry, so just above this particular, and I have a tail race. So this is the tail race. What we have at the bottom, we have the tail race. So what will happen? The fluid will be flowing something like this. The fluid will be flowing down, so that the fluid that is coming out of the turbine may be not zero. It has to, ideally speaking, if there is a complete conversion of your energy in your turbine, the energy at the entry or entry to the draft tube should be zero. But that's not the case. It will be at some energy level. So what does your draft tube does? Draft tube will try to recover that. That means try to convert that kinetic energy by passing it through some kind of a static tube or something like a tube. Just it does the same thing what a centrifugal compressor casing does. There, in a centrifugal casing, the casing will try to recover the energy, or it will try to convert that kinetic energy to corresponding pressure. So same thing is done by your draft tube at the turbine exit for a reaction turbine. Now, if you try to look at what are the different types of draft tubes we have, simple construction one is actually which we call it as a conical draft tube, which is like most like a trump or frustum of a cone, which is cut at the top. So that is my inlet. If you call this as, if I call turbine inlet as 1, turbine exit as 2, so it is at the turbine exit 2, and exit of the your draft tube is 3. So between 2 and 3, your draft tube is there. Then you can see that the same conical draft tube, if I try to bend it a little bit like an elbow, it is called as an elbow tube kind of a draft tube. And you have a similar kind of a moody spreading draft tube. That means one inlet, and we'll try to recover the energy in the form of, or in most of your some of your Francis turbine, we have seen that a draft tube with a circular inlet at the inlet, and I have a rectangular outlet. So this will, because this is completely submerged in your tail race. So you have different types of draft tube. One is conical, a simple elbow, or moody spreading, or moody maybe a dividing kind of a draft tube, or you have what is called as an elbow type of a draft tube. Now, if you look at it, this particular draft tube, the closely what you have to look at is the angle. This particular angle, you have to be very careful. See this particular angle which is going out, the dimensions and all, if you look at it. So these dimensions are very critical, or we call it as that angle. That angle is straight, see, these are 4 degrees or whatever it is. Now, experiments have been done and it has been found that this angle what we have, see, let me write that will be people able to remember it. Note, actually, if the angle is greater than 5 degrees, the losses, that means the recovery will be less. So the losses will increase drastically. It has been found. So that's why whenever we are trying to have a draft tube, we should ensure that this angle is less than 5 degrees. That means 3 degrees or 2 degrees, that's fine. Okay. Now, and also second one, with respect to the height for a elbow type of a draft tube, you can't cross more than 3.5 times. See, elbow draft tube is, let me put 10 times the diameter and try to recover. So that kind of a thing, height. So that also, if you try it, actually it won't be effective. If it is 2.5 times or 3.5 times is the maximum. The height of that particular draft tube, what we have in the elbow draft tube, it should never cross more than 3.5. The minimum should be 2 times your diameter, where D is the diameter at the inlet of the draft tube. If D is the diameter of the inlet, it can be 2 times the diameter to the max of 3.5 times the diameter. You can't go more than that. So that is the limitation what we have from the design perspective. So that's about your draft tube construction. So construction wise,